Okay, everyone. Hello and welcome to BIMS Week 3. My name is Symone Barkley and I am the Chief Learning Officer for BIMS. And today we have our last session for Youth Thursday. And this one is called Google Me. And of course, with that kind of name, it's all about describing and creating your own online presence. So this could be on social media, this could be on the web. We're going to have two speakers talk with you about how you can create your own online presence and use it to your benefit. This could be for you to get job opportunities, internship opportunities, for you to learn more about who is working in the field, and for you to just create some new relationships and make new connections. And so we're going to have two speakers. We're going to have Diamon Clark speak first, and then second, we're going to have Katelyn Williams. And after they talk, we'll get into a little bit of Q&A, and I would love to hear some questions from you all if you would like to know how you can apply some of the techniques that they've used to your own work and to your life. And so we're going to get started right now and jump into it with Diamon.
Thank you, Symone. I'm so happy to be here. I'm just going to take a quick second to share my screen. How does that look? Good. Perfect. So today I'm going to be talking about going virtual, how I use social media as an environmental educator, and a broader conversation about how I have been able to leverage my online presence for my career goals. So before we get into that, I'm going to talk a bit about who I am. So I have a background in environmental science, and I have been an environmental educator for the last 10 years. I have worked with all age groups doing a variety of programming, and it's the joy of my career. I love it so much. I'm also an adventure traveler. I like to backpack. I like to camp and hike and do all the things. And while I'm doing those things, I like to create content about them. So I'm also a content creator. Diamon Does is my personal platform of storytelling where adventure meets science. And I will tell you that Diamon Does, I launched at the beginning of this year, but it's about the third iteration of my personal brand that I've been working on. And you'll see in the slides that come, you'll see some of the older handles that I've had in the past. So how did this begin? This all started with a decision to go on a road trip. It was 2021 when the COVID travel restrictions finally started to lift. I really felt the need to get out in the world and see nature again. I felt safest doing that by living in a camper van. This one right here, it's called Desperado. And I took a cross-country road trip visiting all the national parks. And for the first time, I did something that I hadn't done before, which was record myself. So I just so happened to be at a campsite that had a lot of animal tracks in the mud, like dried in the mud. So they were really perfect that you could use a field guide to try to identify. So I pulled out my field guide, set up a tripod, and just hit record. And I recorded. Okay, thank you. I recorded my thought process of trying to figure out what I was looking at. I uploaded on Instagram and was very surprised that people were interested in that type of content. So I kept it going. Once I got home, next slide. Once I got home, I started focusing on bite-sized bits of information that I could share with Instagram. And I focused on things that were both interesting, but also relatable and something that other people could do from the comfort of home. Because remember, at the time, we weren't really outside that much. So you can see in the top left grid, this video is of me foraging for wine berries. And I use this activity as an opportunity to talk about eating invasives as a conservation effort, and also encouraging people to try wine berries because they're delicious. The top right reel is a picture of a class that I taught, and we were making seed bombs, and it was an opportunity to discuss liberation and conservation and what that means together as Black people. It was an activity that we really loved, and the seeds that we used were both native and also seeds that are culturally significant to Black and Brown people in our region. It was a lot of fun, and people really enjoyed having that kind of activity that they could do at home with their kids, with their families, with, you know, just something to do. And lastly, I want to talk about this harvesting yucca for fiber post in particular. This post was something that I did. I took a primitive skills class and learned how to harvest fibers from yucca leaves. And I enjoyed it so much that I decided I wanted to try it at home and record it for Instagram. And it went crazy. This is like the most viral thing that I've ever done. And it was viewed over 250,000 times. It was shared, you know, almost 2,000 times, saved 3,000 times. And so this first post was the first inkling that I had that, perhaps there is value in showing up as an environmental educator online, that I can spread my messaging beyond, you know, the small groups that I work with in person in my line of work. So this started to plant seeds, right? And at the time I was going under the guise of Black by Nature. So not only do I show up on platforms like Instagram, this year I have made it a point to also show up on platforms like YouTube to share longer form content that allows me to share more of my personality beyond, you know, 60 seconds to 2 minutes that TikTok and Instagram offers. And in doing so, I can give fuller stories that feel more like me, that share more of who I am. I also show up on my own blog. I have a website, www.diamond-does.com. And on that, I have a photo blog. So it's a bunch of pictures with short captions under each picture that tells the story of what I was doing. And it's a very easy, you know, low-hanging fruit to show up online in the event that maybe being on camera isn't your thing. Perhaps you're not a photographer or a videographer, don't have the skills to edit. You can post some pictures and write a caption and tell a good story that is still engaging. I also like to show up on LinkedIn. I wouldn't sleep on the power of having a good profile that's built out with your information on LinkedIn, because I have had at least a couple people message me that I did not know that found me because they were looking for content creators, or they were looking for Black environmental educators or scientists. So if you don't have social media and perhaps you're not ready for a website, having a LinkedIn is a really great way to have an online presence that's professional and can share with the world who you are. And I wanted to pause and say, I launched Diamond Does the beginning of this year. And it's so crazy that it's only been a year because so much has happened. I've been able to leverage my personal brand to work with all of these different organizations. It started with Six Moon Designs, which makes backpacking gear like tents and backpacks. And at first they just sent me free gear in exchange for sharing pictures of me using the gear online. And then as I started to grow, Oboes has become a fantastic partner, and they pay me to make content for them to be who I am. So there are so many ways that you can finesse, leverage, dream, and scheme your online platform to make it something that's meaningful for you. For example, my relationship with All Trails, they pay me to get people out hiking. That's something that I do anyways, and to have the financial support to continue doing it makes all the difference for the longevity and sustainability of being in this type of career. The Vermilion Sea Institute, I pitched to them that I'm a content creator, and they allowed me to go on their week-long community science vacation studying whale sharks in exchange for me making content for them. So there are different ways that you can negotiate and propose ways to work with organizations and brands that aligns with what you're doing and what they're doing to have like this mutually beneficial outcome for you both. It's a science of its own, and it's something that I'm still learning, but I've gotten way farther than I ever thought I could by just showing up. So with that, I want to leave you with some tips on how to show up on social media, some things to keep in mind. And the first thing that I think is most important is that people connect with people. What makes you special, your humor, your quirks, your weird, the things that are unique about you is what people connect with. Be yourself online. That's the sauce, okay? That's the sauce. The second is that the foundation of influence is trust. So by showing up as my authentic self, showing up consistently, and I say consistently, not like every day, but in a way that's consistent for you. So if that's every day, cool. If that's, once a week, that's fine too. But showing up consistently as your authentic self, that's how you build trust. And from a place of trust, people then are going to say, I want to work with that person. I want to know more about what that person is doing. They check in like, Diamond, where are you going next? This particular post is actually from one of my students who went out and bought binoculars and field guides, posted it online, and then tagged me and said, Diamond, I'm out here. And I love it. Like, I live for that type of engagement. And that just shows me that it's not just theoretical. Like, I could say I'm doing this thing, I'm showing up in this way with the hope that people are out doing things in their communities. Like, it's beyond theoretical because I have proof that people are actually taking action on the things that I am sharing. So that means a lot to me. And the third thing that I want to point out that is so important to have fun. Your energy is infectious. Your joy, your passion, your interest, whatever you're putting yourself into, that energy is so infectious and it spreads way beyond what you ever could imagine. And from me just being passionate about the things that I love and being in nature and asking a million questions, that's what people connect with. They like the energy. So give the people what they want. Give the energy. With that, my final, closing quote is to be an influencer, if that is your goal, be yourself and turn the camera on. That's it. That's all. Be yourself. That is the secret to being unique. That's the secret to being impactful. That's the secret to standing out. It's simply being who you are. And that's loaded, right? Because we're all finding ourselves and we're always changing, but in those changes, in the flows of life, just showing up as you are is enough and it'll take you far. So with that, Diamon Does, you can find me on my website. You can email me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Diamond_Does. I'm pretty active. You want to send me a DM, talk about storytelling, talk about establishing your profiles or online presence. I'm happy to support you. Peace.
Thank you, Diamond. Thank you. And if you have questions for Diamond, don't worry. We're going to get to Q&A. We're just going to have Katelyn give a little bit of her background and go through a couple of slides, and then we'll have Q&A with the two of them. Okay, so don't go away quite yet. I would like you to stay here so that we can get interactive again. All right, Katelyn, we would love to hear from you. Welcome.
Thank you, Symone, and great job, Diamond. I learned a lot about what you do as an environmental scientist. So good evening, everyone. My name is Katelyn Williams. On the internet, I am the curly scientist, but outside of being online, I am a fourth-year PhD candidate at North Carolina A&T State University. So my research deals with vehicle safety and injury prediction. And I didn't think that putting what I do as an engineer, especially as a student researcher, would catapult me into what I do as a business owner. So I started the Curly Scientist first as an online platform just to showcase everything that I do as an engineer. But recently, I believe at the beginning of this year, I was able to convert that into a business that I do on the side, where I help students get into their different STEM degree programs on the undergraduate and graduate side. And I do help companies with the onboarding process for those same students. So for today's topic, I'm going to talk about how I kind of transitioned using the internet to my advantage for the opportunities that I've had. So before I became a STEM influencer, I actually was a hair and beauty influencer on the internet. I did a hard pivot into STEM. And the reason I did it is because even though I was online for a few years doing hair and beauty tutorials, it wasn't something I was passionate about. Posting about my hair constantly and doing it on a consistent basis wasn't something that I could personally maintain. So I stopped. My videos are still on YouTube, but I knew that content creation is something that I like to do. I just didn't know what I wanted to do it in until I got into my master's degree program. So from then on, I really started talking more about what I was passionate about, and that is all things science. So I decided to use Instagram as a visual blog to pull back the curtain on what grad school is really like, especially as a Black woman in STEM. Not only that, for us growing up, there weren't any Black STEM figures within reach or on TV. So my mission has always been to change the hue of STEM. I wanted to make sure that everyone can see what I do as a Black woman in engineering, and putting it on social media made it more accessible for everyone around the world. Similar to Diamond, what she was talking about was trying to be your authentic self online. And for me, what you see online is honestly how I am 100% in real life. So the tone I use, how I talk, and what I say are the things that I would to my friends and my family. But I do play a balancing act when it comes to figuring out what is informative yet relatable, but not trying to overwhelm my audience. Because if I'm talking about a variety of things in STEM, it can be a bit much, or talking about recent trends or things that are happening in the news. For example, when the COVID vaccine came out, as a researcher, I know a little bit about the behind the scenes. So to see what people were putting out content-wise that wasn't true really kind of bothered me. So I did my part and posted a little bit about that. But the two images I'm going to show you guys are a great way to show you how I'm authentic online when it comes to the advocacy and the topics that affect myself and my community that I make sure I put out on the internet. So on the left, as we know, COVID really messed with everyone's lives, especially in academia. But something that wasn't talked about was how it really affected grad students. A lot of our professors, our primary investigators, advisors, you name it, they wanted us to operate at 100% in our homes, which is impossible for some of the types of research that my classmates and I did. So I took to Twitter, and by taking this tweet to Twitter, it was an entire thread, my school saw it, and my department actually did speak with me about it to see what they could do in order to help us as students have a better transition period during that time. The post on the right is what I do for Black History Month. I do a lot of Black History Month programming to make sure that people know that Black people in STEM do things that you see every single day. So this is one of the images from that. I do feel like I have a responsibility to highlight these things. And by putting it out there, not just the target audience that I have for my business sees it, but the entire world can see it. And also, when trying to be authentic, I never make forced content. If it's something that I know that I won't do, I don't do it. Or if it's something that may be too much or just doesn't fit with me, it's okay for me to take a little bit from what's trending to apply it to what I like my content to look like. But I don't necessarily follow all of the trends that you see on social media, and that's 100% okay. So because of the content that I've posted online, like the two pieces that you see here, I've had the opportunity to be featured on panels. I've been a keynote speaker, partner with household brands, as well as be featured on many podcasts and YouTube lives. So I wanted to talk about some of the tools that I use in order to develop my content. Everything that you see here are things that I already own or things that I purchased that were low to no cost. So Canva Pro is something that I do purchase because I use Canva for literally everything. The Pro features just help me as far as being consistent with scheduling, branding, that whole bit, because I do have to keep my brand consistent across all platforms. But Canva is also a free tool for people to use. CapCut is what I use to edit all Reels, videos, and TikToks, 100% free. Planoly is something that I use to schedule all of the content that I create to get pushed out automatically. So you're going to see in the next slide how I plan some things, but just so you know, if you are to go on my Instagram right now and you see my most recent post, I actually scheduled that post in August. So I'm 2 months ahead of my posting schedule because I have to make sure that I fulfill my obligations as a student researcher, trying to graduate on time, that whole bit. And once you start planning out things a little bit better, posting automatically comes a little bit easier to you. Next, physically, I own 3 different tripods. So I do have tripods that can sit on my desk, on the ground. I have one that I travel with all the time. And I think those maximum were like $20. Of course, I use my iPhone to record content, videos and images. I do have cameras, but because everything is fitting on your iPhone to prevent having to format things, it's easier just to use that tool. GoodNotes is just a note app. You don't have to purchase it. I did because it's a cloud-based digital notebook service that really helps with my business. So I do make PDF workbooks. So to see how they work on an iPad, which I also use, is a lot easier. And GoodNotes is the main platform that some people have. And like I said, my iPad, my MacBook, those are the two tools I use to create all of the content that you see. So I know I said that I schedule things 2 months in advance, and this is exactly how I do it. So it took me a while to come up with the content creation system that worked for me. And for me to have it down to a science kind of, it was something that I needed to do in order to be consistent with the content that I was posting. And it also helped me be more intentional about what was going on. So first, from the business mind, most of my clients follow an academic calendar. So I have to make sure that I know, like, this is what's happening in the fall for high school, in the fall for grad students, in the fall for undergraduate students. Same with the spring semester and the summer semester. So a lot of my posts have personal statement help, potential due dates, free resources for students. So I'm making sure that my posts are just following that calendar first and foremost. So from there, I was able to determine how long I can realistically spend on creating content. And honestly, even though I post so far in advance, it only takes me about 8 hours a month to create and schedule all of my content. And then I decide how often I want to post for that specific month. So this month I posted only twice a week, but in January, I'll probably post about 3 times a week because it's a new semester for everyone. Everyone's coming back from Christmas break, just making sure I fit my target audience and their schedule. And I also know that posting more to your stories is an easy way for you to get different types of engagement. I may not post to my stories consistently, but you'll see that when you do and you post just like your day-to-day, it could be something as simple as a picture of you sitting in a chair in lab, people are going to start gravitating more towards what you're doing. When I have everything planned out, you see it on the right. This is an actual screenshot from when I was planning things in August. That is July was when I was like, I can't do this anymore of posting willy-nilly every day. So I got on it to post for August, and just posting and creating content and scheduling it consistently really helps me get this down to a science. So what I do is after I figure out the twice a week frequency, I'll put the dates on the iPad and then write out what type of content I want and what the content like details will be. Am I going to record a video to set at my desk? Did somebody say in the campaign brief, you have to do X, Y, and Z in order for this to happen? So just making sure I have all of that together. And once the content is created, it gets pushed out to Planoly to be scheduled. And I use Planoly's. The reason I pay for Planoly, even though it's free, you can post on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and I believe Facebook, and it all automatically posts. And they started posting videos for free. You can put captions. I respond to comments on there. Paying for it was just for peace of mind for me. And like I said, for me, I had no idea that this would catapult me into my business. So because I was posting so consistently on the internet, especially when the pandemic started, is when I was able to focus in on how I operate at home as a grad student. People started to take notice, and I was able to partner with a lot of people behind the scenes. The forward-facing brand that I do partner with is Office Depot, but I've partnered with a lot of major businesses to help streamline some of their programming and content when it comes to STEM outreach. So as you can see, this is the homepage of my website, and I actually had the opportunity to work with the Women in Business Entrepreneurship Council. They gave me a grant to start my business, to get everything off of the ground, and to start my website because they believed in what I was putting out as far as what I was doing already on campus. So my presence online and on campus really is what did it. But I will have to say, similar to what Diamond said with metrics, even though my following may not be big, the metrics matter in what you're seeing, because that tells you how many eyes are on what you're posting, how long they're looking at things, how many people save things. And those aren't things that I could go on your page and see. That is literally just for you. So when it comes to my business, like I said, I do help students and companies. And again, I just didn't know that you could leverage Instagram to do something like this. So with that being said, thank you so much for the opportunity, BIMS. I really appreciate it. And if you want to connect with me, there's exactly how. If you want to ever message me or reach out, the best way to do it is through my website.
Thank you, Katelyn. That was really awesome. I think that, the words and the encouragement and the experiences that the both of you shared, I think really helped to tell a really complete story for people about the different ways that they can build their online presence and how they can use different platforms to do it, how they can engage online, not just on social media. We heard Diamond talk a little bit about having a blog. If you don't feel like you can record videos, right, or that may not be your strong suit, if you don't know you want to jump right into it, you can take some photos, right, and then add a caption. That's a really nice way to start out. We also see something a little bit different, right, and even just looking at the way your websites look as an example, like looking at Katelyn right now. Katelyn has like a Bitmoji. I'm not sure, I don't know what it's called, but she has like an avatar, right, that she uses, right? But that's also probably because Katelyn, right, is engaging with students. She talks about how a main audience for her is, high school students and students in general. And so that might be something that really draws them in. And so we can really see how you both have tailored the things you do to the audience you work with. And I also want to just call this out because I think it's clear, but these aren't necessarily marine scientists, right? These are Black women who are in STEM. And I think it's important that we also remember that there's a lot of intersection, right, in the things that all of us are doing. We saw Diamond talk about some of her experiences, and she was saying that she has a partnership with an organization that is focused on the ocean, and she was doing research, a community science research project on whale sharks. And we see that Katelyn also, right, has shown us the different work that she's done. And if you don't follow Katelyn has shared like stats on different areas of STEM, and she talks about marine science when she shares those statistics. And so I think it's really valuable to see and recognize that Black women and scientists, right, that all of us are in these different disciplines, but there's so much overlap in the things we do, and they can all be applied to the different, areas of the field that we're in. And so I would love, if anyone has questions, I would love for folks to come off mute, or if you want to put your question in the chat, that's fine. I think we can start there. If there are any questions, if not, I have some questions that I would be happy to get us started with. Unless Katelyn and or Diamond have something that they want to say or questions for each other, I think that's also fine too.
I did have something else to say.
Yeah.
Diamond brought up a great point of pivoting. And when she was speaking on like, oh, I changed to this, like I didn't know that. And that's fine, because that was the same for me even before I was on YouTube. My name wasn't the Curly Scientist before. It was like something totally different until it stuck. Like that's what stuck, and that's what I liked. So it's okay to test out what you think is right based on what's going on, and then change it down the line.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that I have a sea turtle scarf on for this.
Yes. Yes.
And I love it. But also, content planning is a beast. And it's something that it takes time to get good at. And so if you find yourself kind of struggling to stay consistent, know that it's just something that takes time, and don't beat yourself up about showing up and not showing up, because that's okay. And life is a flow like that. You're going to have these cycles of a lot of energy and then not a lot of energy. I go by energy cycles. I will say, like, the first half of the month, I'm on go. The last half of the month, not so much. And I plan around that. So as you get your flow, as you start to see how you like to show up online and get that cadence, it'll come.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, right, about like burnout. Just as, just thinking about you working, right, or being a student at the same time, and then planning your content, feeling like, you have to be consistent, and, feeling like you have to always be engaged and answering everyone's questions, because you're right that when you start to post a lot and people start to build a connection with you, they look for you. They're asking about you. They want to know what you're doing. They want to know where you are. They start to DM you, right? They ask for your advice on things. Like, there are so many things that then happen. And so just how do you maintain that balance? And are you honest with your followers, your whoever your audience is, about telling them, like, hey, I'm going to take a break for a little while, or hey, y'all, sorry, I've been MIA for a minute. I've had X, Y, and Z going on. Like, how do you all manage those things too? And then I see we have a question, and Danielle, I'll make sure that we bring that up as soon as they get the response to this.
So the first thing I started to do, honestly, was protect my energy online. And the way you do that is you can do certain filters on Instagram. A lot of people don't know that. So I filter out certain words and phrases to make sure that I don't have any negative things that are being said or posted. The other thing I did, because like you said, people are expecting you, especially when I started posting to my stories more, I got so many more messages, and I'm like, cut it off. Not because I don't want to engage with you, but because it's overwhelming. Like, when you start to get all of those messages of people who are just like, yes, oh, can you do this? Like, getting those questions, it can be a lot. So I turned off the ability for people to ask me questions based on stories. And it's not because I don't like engaging with my following. That is far from the truth. It's just because you do have to have that protective barrier, because it can be a lot. And instead of going and like disappearing on the internet, you can still show up on the internet and just continue to protect yourself in a way.
Got you.
Absolutely. This is going to sound harsh, but I don't owe people on the internet anything. And when I show up online, when I choose, it's rooted in a deep sense of why.
Mm-hmm.
I don't post just to post. I don't post to be consistent, to be honest. I post when I have something of value to share, and when I have the creative energy to do it. That's just how I go about it. And when I pop back on, people are happy to receive me. And when I'm offline, I'm chilling. Nobody's gonna, nothing's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you, Diamond. Katelyn, there's a question. How do you balance creating content during your PhD program? Danielle was a PhD student and often feels so stretched thin that she's too exhausted to, touch social media.
I literally just started recording myself doing anything. And then when I felt like it, I would just put a caption next to it. It's that simple. I don't know if you heard the sound on TikTok that anything is content. That's 100% true. Like, I just started recording myself doing homework, doing research. And to be honest, once you start getting into the research piece, there's some things I can't show out of protection for my work. So it does make it a little difficult. But when you start recording yourself doing everyday things, it's just like the camera's kind of always on you. And it's not a bad thing. You're able to have content to package however you see fit.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, so I mean, I follow both of you, and so I've definitely seen Katelyn like do that. I've definitely seen her like post, her just like doing work at her desk, for example. And I think that those probably are some of the things that led to you getting, right, some of the partnerships with like Office Depot, because you use so many different, right, like tools. Katelyn has always been like a planner type of person. So she uses different pens and stuff like that, things that you're already interested in. The same way Diamond was talking about how she likes to, explore. So she was already, right, going camping and using tents and, right, going hiking. And so a lot of times these partnerships or endorsements or whatever it might be come from you doing the things that you're already doing, right? The things that you're already interested in. And then I also wanted to bring up, we're talking a lot about Instagram, but we also know about like Instagram's like some of the withdrawals, right? The drawbacks of using Instagram, right? Like now they're transitioning more to you using, like the real style, right? So you're having more video content, or honestly, to people not even really seeing your posts that often, right? People that you follow, sometimes your posts aren't even on their timeline. There's so many sponsored posts within there. And so how have you all, right, thought about if you would stay on Instagram, if you would transition off of that platform, if it matters, if people are, are seeing your posts as often as they used to? How do you manage as the algorithms change on these platforms? How do you navigate that?
From my perspective, social media, your online presence, whatever it is, it's a long game. And so the algorithm is going to continue to change. People are going to continue to discover you. And as long as you're continuing to put out quality content and you have this critical mass of a portfolio of sorts to show, people are going to, it only takes one post to like blow you up, right? And then that one post though is supported by all the other things you've already been doing. And so this long game is that you don't know when it's going to happen, but if you keep going, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's very true, because even if you could use all the hashtags you normally use, but it could be one that's like not it anymore, that puts you down in the bottom. So it's like, don't necessarily post to get that engagement. You have to want to put yourself out there because that's what you want to do first. And the content that you are seeing, like, oh, like this is something that no one's talking about that you genuinely want to put out there. Like you have to want to do it first. And then like Diamond said, it is a long game. Like the ebbs and flows of Instagram have made me just be like, you know what, this month, I'm sorry, y'all aren't going to see me anything I have to post, but you do have to be consistent on whatever level it is for you.
How do you how do you kind of vet the things that you share? Like, how do you know what you feel like you're confident enough to share with other people? If it's, do you do some fact checking, right? Do you do a lot of fact checking before you put something out there? Are you sharing, sources where you've gained the information from? Are you talking solely about your experience? Like, how do you vet the things that you share? How do you decide that you want to put that information out there? Because again, people are going to come asking you questions, right? And so how do you manage that?
So I always pull from my personal experiences first. And usually it's when people DM me a question. So if one person asks me the question, that means a lot of other people may not know the answer either. So it's kind of like, that's one way I'll get content. And it's not like I'm saying so-and-so said X, Y, and Z. Like, no. It's how can I repackage that question to be informative without like saying, oh, this person asked me the question. So that's one way. The other way, like I said, is from my experience as a researcher. So what I research, crash safety, I'm 100% sure no one knows about Congress's regulations on how new cars are put on the market, how cars are tested, and things like that. The algorithm piece is something that I probably won't share on the internet just because that's an easy way for people to take like my idea and stuff like that. As a PhD student, we have to be very cognizant about that. So posting about what I'm learning about something more forward-facing, like vehicle safety, is something that I'm starting to do because it is relevant to my research, but it's something that I know my audience may not know about. So I think I recently posted about why children shouldn't wear coats in car seats. Although all the parents know about that, many people still are like, I don't get it. So I posted something that was like very to the point on why you shouldn't. And I did get a lot of reactions like, I had no idea that this was going to happen. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm on the right path when it comes to posting about my research in a different way.
Same. I post about what I know, though I use my stories as more of a place of dialogue and discussion. And so I will share an observation or share a thought or share a short story in my stories feature, and then use the question sticker and get questions and use that to continue the story in the story. So I really enjoy the stories feature for like real-time discussion. And my feed is more so for like straight facts or experience, or some like cutesy reel about the last thing I did and what I learned.
Okay, so we heard Katelyn talk a lot about the different like platforms and services and things that she uses to, plan her content. Diamond, are there any plugs you want to give for, platforms you use to, or any, I don't know, any websites you use, any tools you use, anything like that that you might think would be good recommendations for people?
Yes, so with a different hat, I use Later, which is very similar to Planoly, that post across platforms. Though because I'm video focused, I do a lot of my content creation within the Instagram app. And so really I just stick to the app as my sole source of editing. As far as content planning, I really just, if I'm out, then that's the content. But as far as tools, I keep it pretty simple. I use my phone, I use a GoPro, and I use the Instagram app, and that's about it.
And I also heard you, like even you talking about like using a GoPro, right? Or Katelyn talking about, getting some of the tools that she has, like a tripod. I also think it's pretty, it's a good idea that when you're negotiating deals with some of these, companies or organizations, that you could ask for equipment to do some of the work that they want you to do. And I would suggest that you don't shy away from that, that if you would like to be able to, purchase a GoPro, but you don't have one, but they want you to create content, ask if, like, do you have a camera that I can use? Do you have a GoPro that you can provide to me so that I can continue to do this? I can create the best quality content for you. Because I think that some people are sometimes worried that they don't have, right, these programs or the best equipment. So they feel like they can't create things. And from what I see from you all is that, again, use what you got. People are going to follow you if they want to follow you, right? They're going to, be interested in you because of you and because of things you share and because they know that you know what you're talking about and they feel connected to you. And in addition to that, there's always opportunities as you move forward for you to get more, to get more specialized equipment if that's what you need. Or, as time goes on, right? Like Katelyn has a background that has, like her tags on it. Like that's nice, that's cute. That's what you like, you love to see it. But that doesn't mean you have to have that from day one, right? I'm sure Katelyn didn't have that at day one. And so over time, right, there are things that you can do. You don't have to jump out the gate and already have everything figured out. Yeah. Okay, perfect. And then, so Katelyn, you talked a little bit about how you spend about 8 hours, right, doing your content planning and scheduling. And Diamond, we know you kind of just do it as you feel, right, as you're out and about. I feel like, personally, for me, I don't spend that much time on Instagram anymore. There was a time when I did spend a lot of time on my Scientist Symone account. And when I was getting lots of feedback. Diamond would be like, we need more of this, Symone. Where's this? Give me more of this. Like she would be telling me all the time, right? And you know, and it's definitely the thing that was intimidating for me, right? Was that I would feel like I didn't have enough time to plan out everything that I wanted to say or do. Not realizing that if I would have just sat down for a couple of hours for, 2 weeks or something, I probably could have planned out everything that I wanted. And so this is even reassuring for me to know that from Diamond's perspective, like, it's okay. You don't owe nobody nothing. You don't have to explain to people if you are taking a break, or if you're tired, or if you're busy, or this, that, or the other. Like, that's okay. Do it when you feel comfortable doing it, and not forcing content. And I heard you say that, Katelyn, when you were talking about like trends on social media. And that's something that I would love to bring up too, right? Like there are all these like trends on TikTok, right? And trends on Instagram about the different way, like, dances that you can do, or there's like, oh, this is what a scientist look like. I've definitely seen this on TikTok, right? Like, this is what a scientist looks like, and it's like all these different, right, like clips of you and different things besides just like in your lab, as an example. And so, are there any trends that you look forward to? Are there trends that like you would like to try out that you didn't do before? Or are you just like, I'm not interested in trends at all, or any of the like challenges, any of those things? Katelyn, no.
I like to use trending audio. That's about it. Feel like if you get a good trending audio that you like, the people like, and you can put your spin on the content, that's a good way to like be up with the trends and not dancing. And if that's not your ministry.
Exactly. Because I always said I would never dance on Beyonce's internet ever. And that was a hard stop for me. So you see all these people now, then like you, Symone, even though, and that's why I like using what I use, because to plan and schedule things, I can engage with people solely on that other website. I don't have to open Instagram. So I don't scroll through my business Instagram like I used to, because sometimes it's just too much. And I'd like the engagement with my followers, with the comments and things like that, but it is too much. But I said that I would never dance on the internet. I would not follow trends, but using a trending audio is a great way for people to still see you, because you click on the audio anyway and you save it. So you click on the audio, you see all of these other videos. And what people may not know about TikTok is I've used trending audio on TikTok all the time, but I have my own music in the background that I put in CapCut. Because the music on the trending audio pops up, I just turn it all the way to 0. So my video will still show up with the trending audio. So yeah, you don't have to, like, I just put my own background music on CapCut. When I edit, I upload it, find the trending audio, turn the volume all the way down. Instagram won't let you do that though. You got to keep it up a little bit. But TikTok, yeah, turn it all the way down. You'll be on the trending video page.
Right. I love it. Okay. And so, why do you think that it's important for science in general, for the field of science, and for representation of diverse backgrounds to be online? Like, what is the value for you? Because for me, right, again, we talk about this all the time at BIMS. We talk about the fact that we didn't have this type of community. We talked about the fact that when we were in school and, we connected with each other at conferences, right, or whatever, like that was it. That was the only touch point we had with each other. That's the only way we were able to engage with each other. And if we didn't know one another, right, we didn't know what you were working on, what you were doing, or what it was like. When I went to grad school, I had no idea what was happening at that lab. I didn't know what the day-to-day was like. I had no clue. And so I think that social media definitely provides a window, right, into things that we didn't necessarily have a view of before. I think that it allows us to get a glimpse of things when we didn't know what we were getting into. This sometimes gives you a little bit of a glimpse into, life that you might think you're interested in. And then as you start to learn more, you might like, I don't know, like I see Diamond backpacking for 30 weeks and she's sleeping, in these environments. And I thought that I really liked camping, but this seems like it's a little bit much for me. But I follow her because I start to see, the things that she's going through and the kind of skills she has to learn. And maybe I'm not ready to be at that level yet, right? Like there are things that I think you start to understand when you watch people do things online. And I'm happy that you all are open enough to share those experiences and to share when they're hard, right? I think that's also really important, to share when things are hard. So people know that everything isn't peachy, everything isn't always right. It isn't always like glamorous, right? This work and doing the things that we do is hard work. So just, can you talk a little bit about the importance that you see and the value that you see and, seeing each other and putting yourself out there online?
I like to say that I show up online for the diamonds of the world, for the little me's that had no clue that this type of life, this lifestyle was possible. And also I show up because I find myself in the most amazing places in the world that I cannot believe exist. And somebody else has to see it. That's why I show up.
Yes. If y'all don't follow Diamond, I just need y'all to know that she really does go to some amazing places and she does teach you so much. Like you learn a lot if you watch Diamond and follow Diamond. You learn so much and you feel like you're with her. Like that quote that she shared about, like someone saying that they can like feel her energy, like through her photos and through everything she shares. You do. Like when I'm with Diamond in person and in the field and next to her, I feel the same way as I feel when I watch Diamond on a video that she posts online. And I think that it is very important that you always be yourself. That is, and there's nothing else. I think that that's important. And Diamond also doesn't, sorry, I'm going to probably do this when Katelyn shares hers too, right? But Diamond doesn't like have separate accounts. Like I'm definitely a person, to be honest, right? Like I had separate accounts. I started out with like my own personal account and then I was like, well, maybe I should make a Scientist Symone account that's more focused on science. And something that I really admire about the way Diamond does things is that like she brings Diamond to the table no matter what, right? She doesn't separate them. Everything is Diamond. Every day is Diamond. And so I think that that's also important because you think that like you have to be professional, right? Or you think that like if this organization or this professor or this job or whatever, right? If they see me, that this might jeopardize, my opportunities. This might jeopardize my future. And so I think it is really good to see that you can be your authentic self and the things that are for you, right? It doesn't matter. Like they're going to come to you no matter what.
Right.
So thank you for that.
And you don't have to be a super mega influencer. You don't have to have all the followers to reap the rewards that just showing up can offer. Like you, I think that's like one thing I would want to highlight. Like you do not have to be the end all be all. Like you don't have to be Patagonia out here. You don't have, your followers is enough.
Yeah, that's real. Cause like none of us are sitting here with millions of followers. Nobody's even sitting here with like 30,000 followers. Like we probably are on the smaller scale of, Instagram influencers, if that's what you want to say. But at the end of the day, still look at the opportunities, still look at the doors that are opening for you, right? And I think that that is how you know that you're doing the right thing. When you're seeing yourself in a place which is exactly what both of you said, that you see yourselves now in places that you never thought or knew that you could get to by doing this, right? And so I think that also is critical to remember. Thank you for sharing that. Katelyn?
Girl, you was preaching. I'm not even gonna hold you because you were. And to add on to that whole influencer, like the follower count, I don't know if anyone remembers this. There was a girl with like 2 million followers that put out a clothing line and no one bought anything. So just like, you don't have to have the following to be successful. Honestly, you want that like authentic engagement from your followers. So I know Symone talks about like people DMing you, messaging you, seeing where you are. That's the person that you want to have as your follower. Like you want those people because those are the ones that are going to give you those metrics. They're going to constantly share your things. They're always going to comment on something. And honestly, you don't need all the likes either. It's who's looking at what you're putting out. If you show up on, you never know, you may show up on like Noah's For You page on TikTok, and they'll see you and reach out to you. Same with me, like a car company could see my posts about crash test dummies or something, and they just see me from that. And that post probably got like 10 likes, but I have a deal with a major car company. So I'm not concerned about the followers at all. But the reason why I started posting is because I didn't see myself as a grad student at all. And when I started working before I went to grad school is a literal curtain. I am the first engineer in my family. So no one went to school to be anything in science. So here I am, like in the field as like an orthopedic scientist, and I'm seeing all these people go to grad school. I'm seeing the behind the scenes of what's happening. I'm hearing all the problems that they could face. So I'm gathering this information for when I apply to grad school, and I'm like, okay, cool. I know what to do, what not to do. I'm good. So through my master's program, as I was posting like even the highs and lows of my program, I knew the behind the scenes, which is why I started posting as well, because I'm sure many people didn't know that if I didn't know you could change your advisor, a lot of people didn't know they could change their advisor. If I didn't know that when I started my PhD program, my master's degree credits transferred with it, a lot of people didn't know that. If I didn't know that even as a master's student, I could go to community college to get credits to go towards my degree, a lot of people didn't know that. So making sure that the things that I've learned along the way are posted, because I don't want people, especially Black people, to be in the dark when it comes to higher education. And same with the opportunities that it affords me. Because of my funding, I go to school for free and get paid to do it. A lot of people don't know that you can do that on the PhD level, because being in STEM, you're oftentimes still the first person in your family to go on that journey, even if you come from an educated background. So school wasn't as expensive as it was for me, compared to the rest of my family members, because I'm going to school for free. So making sure that that information was out there was very important to me, so we can see ourselves at the table in more of these conferences, at these meetings for like academic stuff. So that's why I started posting. Outside of being the fact that the only Black girl we had to look up to was Dr. Mae Jemison when she went to space. So now we have like this whole STEM community that if you search like Black in STEM or certain hashtags, you'll see people that look like you in so many different fields. Like you can see so many Black engineers. I guarantee you, we do not do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Same with marine science. Like that is not my thing. Being on the water, we did it at school. Symone got me through that class. Okay. That was not for me. But to know like there are people passionate about literally every discipline in STEM is cool. And if we are occupying these spaces as Black people, we have the ability to change the narrative, not only on what we do, but also the things that we're changing. It's important that we occupy spaces, not just in dentistry or medicine, but in research, because we can really change what we see and help our people out in our communities and all that good stuff. So I'll stop talking.
Yes, you are. Yes, exactly, Katelyn. And you always wanted to change the narrative as for Black people in STEM. I remember us talking about this. We were both trying to figure out what we're going to do, right? Yeah. When we were trying to figure out what kind of jobs we're going to get, like what's going to look like for us. And so I love to see that you figured out, how to do this in a way that works for you. And I'm very, very proud and just honored to watch the journey, and to be able to call on y'all to do stuff like this and to have you answer the call. And so, okay, y'all, if you're watching, we have a giveaway. Okay. So today's giveaway is Mahogany Mermaids. It's a book and it's signed by BIMS member Aaliyah Griffith. If you want a copy of this book, be the first person to answer the following question. If you have no BIMS, you should know the answer to this question. I feel like we probably ask this question all the time, so it's probably really easy. What are the three main programs that BIMS TV started with in 2021? BIMS TV is our YouTube channel. What are the three programs that BIMS TV started with in 2021? If you know, put it in the chat. Leslie, I'll wait to see if you figure out an answer from someone on YouTube. Okay, yes, thank you. Perfect. Yes, yes, yes. Jamie is correct. Winner, winner, winner. So it is BIMS Bites Kids, and BIMS Dives. Those are our three first programs that we started on BIMS TV. And if you haven't watched any of them, you should check them out because they're all really good. And so that, I think, y'all, concludes our workshop. I want to say thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the input that you shared. And please share this recording and share our YouTube channel with your followers so that they can watch this later. I really appreciate you all working with us and participating in BIMS Week and celebrating Black Marine Science. So have a great night, everybody.